Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us today for the Department for Business and Trade's webinar on helping UK brands comply with new French and Italian packaging laws. We've got a really great lineup of panelists for you today, and we've had a high registration number for this, so it does show the interest. So myself, hello, I'm Emma Jones. I work with the sector team at Whitehall for digital commerce and retail as lead on strategic partnerships and alliances. And I have my colleagues joining me today from France and Italy. We have Luke Sexton, who is the head of our export support service based in Paris for France. Carolina, who is the export support service for Italy. And then we have Federico, who's going to talk about the market access. And then we have our specialist today, who is Jonathan Sparks, the co-founder and CEO of Buyerdock, that has got a fantastic solution that will make your life a lot easier to comply with these new laws. So just moving on, just a bit about the Department for Business and Trade Services. For those of you that have never been on our website, I would encourage you to go there. The URL is great.gov.uk. There is a lot of information on this website. It's just ploughing through it, really. But you can see as well the list of all the events we have. These are in person now and webinars as well. We have, I don't know, worldwide, we have about 1,000 events going on a day or something crazy. Don't quote me on the stat. But there's a lot of engagement through a lot of different sectors. If you're in food and drink, the food and sector team do a lot of there. We do missions as well, retail. Like I was at WRC the past couple of days in Barcelona. I don't know if anyone else was there, but the key outtakes of that were AI, machine learning is here. You really need to start to think about adopting that, how that can help with you. Tech, obviously, that's why we're talking today, and sustainability through tech communication. So very relevant to today's topic of discussion. Let's move on, please, Stella, to the next slide. We also have our export academies. I would urge you to sign up to these. These are for new exporters or new staff that are to your team. It's a modular system. There's lots of digital content in there with there as well about international marketing, how to optimize your websites, as well as how to find an HS code if you're new to exporting. There's just a lot of information there. I'd really urge you to sign up for those, all free as well. Next slide, please, Stella. And then I'm part of the digital exporting program. This was launched in 2014. We've supported way over 10,000 companies. Like I said, we look at retail, luxury, fashion, food and drink, taking this across other sectors as well. We do webinars like today. We have our digital trade advisors, which are specialists. They can help you with your website optimization. They can help you with keyword research. They can help identify potentially new markets as well that might be relevant to you, where you've got organic ranking and you're not already aware of this. That's a great service. You can reach out to them and they'll help you. We've got our export service that Luke and Carolina will talk about. And then next slide, please, Stella. We have our so we've got the digital commerce stats. It's just showing that, like it or not, digital commerce is growing, and everything at WRC, all the stats that were presented by some big agencies like WPP, people from like ex-Facebook, showing how everything is just, the lines are blurring in terms of digital. It's not just about your website. Today's a good example of that. But you can see the stats for yourself. It's just going up. Next slide, please, Stella. And we have our marketplace finder. This is a fantastic tool. If you are thinking, I want to maybe sell into, I don't know, Singapore or Southeast Asia or the Middle East or the States, you're not sure about how to go, that marketplaces are a great way to kind of like ascertain market appetite for your products. And so you go into selling online overseas. It's on the great.gov.uk, very long URL. But you just choose a country, and then we work with all these marketplaces, often negotiate discounts for you, preferential promotions, etc. So please do use this tool. It's really great, and we've got worldwide marketplaces on here, including the likes of Amazon, but no special discounts with them. So please go on that. Next slide, please. This is just an example of Coupang in South Korea. Really great market, and the rates that we've negotiated, that's actually been extended that now to all on companies on board. Next slide, please. And these are just some of the only a snapshot of some of the marketplaces that we're dealing with. Next slide, please. So on that note, it's with great pleasure that I'm going to hand over to my colleague Luke Sexton in France. Luke, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Emma. Good morning and welcome to everyone joining. It's really nice to see you. And as Emma said, I am the Export Support Service International Markets Lead. That kind of means nothing to anyone who I speak to externally, but internally what that means is as part of my team here at DBT France, I support every or any company that is looking for export support help that doesn't fall into our already predefined campaigns. And I also have a market access remit that I'm working on. So that's why I'm here today to chat with everyone. So just I'm going to give a very quick background on DBT France. You'll notice that these slides are a touch old, but on DBT France, Department for Business and Trade, DBT France is part of the DBT Europe wider region. We're very well connected across Europe, and we've got our Italian colleagues here today. We're the second largest team here in France, which kind of reflects the size of our market. And actually, France is very special because we also are home to the Midlands export specialist for Europe. So that's supporting the levelling up agenda. We're really pleased to have her. And also we have the lead for DBT's market access and trading systems in Europe. We've got offices based in Paris, where I am, as well as in Lyon and in Bordeaux. So we have an export support offer, we have an invest support offer, we help French investors come to the UK. But today I'm just going to quickly give you an idea of what that market access support offer looks like overseas and from an in-market advisor. Since the UK's exit from the European Union, we've been helping companies with the new requirements for trade between UK and France. That looks like day-to-day tackling of market access inquiries from businesses of all sizes, as well as resolving more longer-term, higher-value strategic barriers to trade between UK and France. We just recently had our UK-France summit at the beginning of March between Macron and Rishi, which was really, really positive. And you might have seen some stuff about that in the news. We also help French companies understand the new rules and requirements from the UK, as this trading relationship is two-way and not just one way. So today we're going to talk about the new obligations on household packaging and its disposal. So I'll be kind of talking about the current challenges, the current context, and then towards the end of the webinar, we'll hear from Jonathan Sparks on kind of a specialist solution. So just quickly, I'm going to go over the French extended producer responsibility system to give a bit more wider context on why there are new rules and new labelling regulations for household waste packaging. The extended producer responsibility was a law that was voted in France in 1975, so it's quite old, but the law is around producers, importers, distributors maybe being required to contribute to disposal of waste from their products. In 2020, we had a new circular law passed in France, which gave the EPR system more strength and kind of more command within the French market. Since 2020, manufacturers and companies responsible for putting products on the market have also been required to, or will be required to, finance and organise the management of their waste or end of life of their products. So in France, most companies have chosen to organise themselves collectively within the framework of several eco-organisations that have been approved by the French authorities. I think currently in France, there's 29 eco-organisms operating in accordance with this, based on their industry and in accordance with the EPR principle. So the three key eco-organizations that I want to highlight for packaging and waste packaging is firstly Sitio, secondly Leco, and thirdly Adelph. So these three key organizations are helping French marketers and French producers and international producers understand what their obligations are when they're selling into the French market, and overall trying to achieve some really outstanding objectives around our impact on the climate. So talking about our objectives and obligations of the extended producer responsibility, why are we putting new labelling regulations in place? Well, the objectives that France has set for themselves is by 2040 to end single-use plastic packaging. By 2025, they want a 20% reduction in single-use plastic packaging, 100% reduction in unnecessary single-use plastic packaging, and 100% recycling of single-use plastics. So what does that mean in terms of obligations for businesses? Well, France is encouraging the reduction of certain single-use plastic products and packaging. They are aiming for packaging to be recyclable by 2030, and in 2023, they're aiming for, at the end of this year, 5% of all packaging put on the French market to be made from reused packaging, and by 2027, they would like this figure to be 10%. Today, we're going to be talking about consumer information. So the obligation to put mandatory information on pack or off pack, and specifically what we call the Treeman logo, what is called the Treeman logo, and on-full-tree sorting information. So for those who may not have seen what the Treeman logo and on-full-tree sorting information looks like, I've just put a mock-up image. On the left, you'll see the Treeman logo, the smaller symbol of the kind of figure with the arrows coming away. And then separately to the right side of that, we've got the on-full-tree information. So this is very direct information on what the product is made of and how it should be thrown away or disposed of in France. So for the next few slides, I'm going to try and keep it very, very simple because it can be quite confusing. But I'm going to talk about responsibility and who is ultimately responsible for labelling obligations. The definitions that we've been provided are the producer, meaning any person who professionally packages or has packaged their products with a view to put them on the market, or an importer whose products are marketed in packages, or if the producer or importer cannot be identified, the person responsible for first putting the products on the market. So this is the person who's ultimately responsible for the Treeman and on-full-tree labelling regulations. So on the left-hand side there, you can see a tick. I'm an importer in France. I'm selling products and packaging on an e-marketplace. I'm an exporter and exporting to my corporate subsidiary in France. And in the cross, we've got, I'm a packaging manufacturer, I'm an exporter with an asterisk, and I'm a distributor with an asterisk. Distributors are concerned in their capacity as producers. So, for instance, that could be so-called in-store packaging or checkout shopping bags. But I think more pertinent for today's audience, distributors are concerned as their capacity as an introducer or an importer, as they'll be importing packaged products from outside or even within the European Union. So when does the Treeman logo and the on-full-tree sorting information apply? So I've had in recent weeks and in recent months, I've had quite a few questions on this from individual businesses. But packaging used in business to consumer sales is the key definition. So business, if you're making a business to consumer transaction, if that packaging will end up with the end user, these are considered under the Treeman and on-full-tree obligations. B2B packaging, so maybe postage packaging that you're sending to contain your products that go into the end consumer, they aren't concerned by the OnForTree and TreeMan labelling. However, if there is doubt that your packaging may be used by a consumer, we do recommend you put the OnForTree and TreeMan logo on your packaging. One specific business to consumer packaging exemption is glass beverage containers. There is an exemption for these glass beverage containers. However, non-beverage glass packaging such as mustard, spreads, pickle jars, cosmetic packaging, these are all considered under the TreeMan and OnForTree obligations. And at the bottom, I've encountered a couple of scenarios between companies. Please don't forget that all responsibility can be transferred over by contract. So I'll take this next slide a bit more slowly as well, because I think concerning today's conversation, this slide is key. There are certain exemptions concerning the TreeMan logo and the OnForTree sorting information, specifically around when can this information be dematerialized and accessed via a QR code. Obviously, with such a fairly large label for small packaging or cylindrical packaging, this can be quite difficult to apply the TreeMan logo and OnForTree information. So for small packaging, if you have a packaging where the area of the largest side is less than 10 centimeters squared, well, if it comes with an instruction manual, the TreeMan logo and the OnForTree sorting information can be affixed within the instruction manual. Without an instruction manual, the TreeMan logo and OnForTree sorting information can be dematerialized and accessed via QR code. If your packaging and the largest side of your packaging is in between 10 centimeters squared or 20 centimeters squared, well, then if you have an instructions manual within the product, the TreeMan logo is mandatory on the packaging, but the OnForTree sorting information can be affixed within the instruction manual. If there isn't an instruction manual that comes with your product, then the TreeMan logo is mandatory on the packaging, but the OnForTree information can be dematerialized and accessed by a QR code. And then for cylindrical or spherical packaging, if the area of the largest side of the packaging is less than 20 centimeters squared, then the TreeMan logo, the OnForTree information can be dematerialized and accessed by a QR code. And if the area of the largest side is in between 20 centimeters squared and 40 centimeters squared, so I've just realized that the writing has been cut off, but the TreeMan logo must appear on the packaging, and the OnForTree sorting information can be dematerialized and accessed via a QR code. So I'm just going to recap on the deadlines that France has put in place for the TreeMan logo and OnForTree information. We had a hard deadline of the 9th of March, so a deadline that is passed, where all packaging must include the OnForTree information, unless exempted by law. Already the TreeMan logo was a label already in place. There are two exemptions from this 9th of March strict deadline. So firstly, I've tried to clearly put it here at the bottom. Firstly, the packaging was printed before the 9th of September 2022, or the person who packages the product has taken possession of the packaging before March 9th, 2022, sorry. So how to access this support? You can ask your export support team or ask the export support team by following the link to a gov.uk page there. Equally, we like to recommend UK companies to request trade barriers they are facing by also following the link on the slide deck there. And DBT, we produce news flashes and newsletters helping UK companies and French businesses stay up to date with regulation changes from either side of the channel. If you'd like to contact me directly or the wider team after this event, where you can contact me with my work email address or chat to me on LinkedIn, and then the commercialinquiries.paris@fcdo.gov.uk email address there is our email address to contact the wider team. So that's all from me. I'm going to pass back
Luke.
over to Emma now. Thank you very
That's
much.
wonderful. That's great. Sorry. So yeah, we're a bit behind. So I'm going to swiftly move over to our Italian team and introduce Carolina. Stella, do you mind doing next slide, please?
Pass control over to Federico.
Thank you. Yes, Carolina is going to present now from our our colleague in Italy. Carolina, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Lovely to meet you, and thank you for connecting to today's webinar. I'm Carolina. I'm the Expert Growth Advisor here in DBT Italy, and my job, like Luke's, is that of supporting UK companies wishing to export to Italy in all those sectors where where our department does not have an assigned trade advisor. We have two offices in Italy, the British Embassy based in Rome, which is the headquarters of our ambassador, and we have the British Consulate General in Milan, which is where I am based. It's the headquarters for our Consul General, and it's where most of our DBT team is based. The role of our department, both in DBT, Italy, and around our whole network, is that of promoting UK trade across the world and to attract foreign investment in our economy. As also explained by Luke and Emma, we are a specialized government body with the responsibility for negotiating internal trade policy, supporting UK businesses, but as well as delivering an outward-looking trade diplomacy strategy. The services we offer to UK companies are quite broad. We offer tailored market strategy advice, which Federico will look at, will explain further in a second. We assist companies to overcome market access issues. We can identify local partners for you and organize introductory calls with key stakeholders, and as well as organizing roundtables, events, and workshops for your companies. Next slide, please, Federico. Thank you. So the sectors we cover are quite broad as well. We can provide expertise in three main areas of interest. So as you can see from the slide, life science and healthcare, consumer and retail, and advanced engineering. Now, I won't go through the whole list of sectors. You'll be receiving the slides later, so you can have a look. But as you can see, we can cover several sectors. I will now leave the floor to my colleague Federico. Federico is our market access advisor, and he will, like Luke, guide you through the Italian labeling requirements.
Thanks,
over to you,
Carolina. Federico, we're running a bit over, so can I ask you, people do receive the information, to just go a bit quicker, please?
Yeah, of course, I will be very concise, and thanks to the audience for attending this webinar. As it's in France, from January this year onwards, the Italian legislation concerning environmental level of packaging has entered into force. So from January this year, all packaging is subject to identification and classification, so they need to be appropriately labeled in order to facilitate the collection, reuse, recovery, or recycling of the packaging. And this applies in a B2B scenario or in a B2C scenario, as it is in France. Passing to the next slide, here we are in a B2B scenario, and the mandatory requirement is to provide the alphanumeric coding related to the material family which is composing the packaging. The coding is provided by a European Commission decision, the 129 of the 1997, and in the slides you will find a link to access the annex of this decision, where you can find all the list of code related to materials. This can be done, as it is in France, with different alternatives. You can provide the coding directly on the packaging. You can use digital media, digital channels, as a QR code or a website. But as we are in a B2B scenario, we can also use you can also report the coding on a transport document or any other document that is accompanying the goods. Please note that the Italian legislation doesn't provide for a specific wording, but information must be clearly conveyed to the clients of the packaging in this case. So there isn't a specific wording, but information must be reported on it. When we move to a B2C scenario, there are more information that are mandatory. Still, we have the alphanumeric identification coding, but also we have to indicate that the packaging have to be collected separately, and you have also to refer, define the end user, the final consumer, to the the collection indication of the municipality where they habit. So there are also several alternatives. You can have this information directly on the packaging if there is enough space. In case there is a user manual, you can provide this information by using the user manual. You can use digital channels as a website or QR code, or in case of neutral packaging or where packaging are too small, I don't have reported the specific, let's say, measures as you did, but they are more or less the same as it is in France. You can also use informative panels at the point of sale where you can display all the information, or where you can provide a QR code or a website. Here you can see some examples coming from different sectors of good practices, best practices that have been identified by the National Packaging Consortium, which is the main stakeholder in Italy that supported the ministry in order to achieve the targets set by law. In particular, we'll focus on the box on the right. Here, probably we are in a situation where the packaging is too small. So you can see the alphanumeric coding PAP22, the wording indicating the family material. Carta means paper, and also a QR code where the seller can provide all the mandatory and voluntary information concerning waste disposal. This is our last slide. DBT Italy, just to say that DBT Italy is able to provide full support to companies, to UK companies, UK exporters to Italy, as we are collaborating now with CONAI, as mentioned before, in order to offer UK companies with a one-stop shop service, and so easy access to key information. And when exporting to Italy and addressing environmental labeling, the environmental labeling topic, we strongly recommend to have a look at the guidelines provided by CONAI. All these tools, supporting tools, are available in English, and they are full of also practical examples. So you can, I'm sure you can find an example that is similar to your product, so you can also apply to your products. Again, we are both Caroline and I are fully available to provide support to you. You can use the email that is here displayed on the slide, and we will provide a first reply, or in case of very technical question, we can also forward your question to CONAI that will provide an answer.
Thanks, Federico. That was, yeah, brilliant, very succinct. There are a couple of chats in the box. Luke, there's a couple for you if you don't mind answering them. But obviously we are running a little bit over. I'm keen to get on to Jonathan, who has a solution for you all. But do keep putting the chat in the box, because if we run out of time, then we can get back to you offline. So next slide, please, Stella. So it is with great pleasure that I'm able to introduce to you Jonathan Sparks, who is the CEO and co-founder of Buyerdock. Stella, can you go to the next slide, please?
It's over to Jonathan.
Thank you. So it's important to know that Jonathan comes from a technical coding background. Jonathan has 30 years experience selling consumer goods across the world. He's coming at this from understanding your challenges as business owners, and how do you sell goods overseas, and how do you comply with legislation. This is so he understands your pain points. So 30 years and 30 years doing that. So Jonathan, I'm going to hand straight over to you.
Thank you, Emma. I'm actually 35 years old. I'm not really. Emma, thank you very much. Luke, Carolina, Federica, and the team at the Department of Business and Trade for putting this webinar on. The amount of registrations for this event alone demonstrates how important this subject of regulation is to every business and everyone here today. At Buyerdock, we aim to simplify this process as much as possible so you can focus on exporting and, most importantly, generating sales and revenue. The Buyerdock platform delivers a unique web app designed for each of your SKUs or products, accessed directly from the camera of your smartphone or your customer's phone. There is no app download needed. I think we've all got app fatigue now. It's just simply scan your camera and you're away. As your customers scan the 2D barcode or QR code, they'll be able to access product information and images, contact details, sustainability statements, allergens, nutritions and ingredients, how-to videos and stockists, and of course the new packaging regulations and laws required for Italy and France, which we're all terribly excited about. What is a 2D barcode? A barcode that looks like a QR code but can be scanned by retailers at the point of sale and holds a huge amount of data behind it. To be honest, the content is only limited by your imagination. GS1, who are the global barcode authority, will be replacing the linear barcode that has been with us for the last 50 years with the new 2D barcode. Buyerdock is the first and currently the only company to generate 2D barcodes free of charge for brands and their SKUs or products. And now what I'll do is I'll show you a number of brands that Buyerdock are currently working with and some of the already 1 million products out in retail today using 2D barcodes to deliver greater information to their consumers. For those of you with their phones to hand who've got cameras on them, if you open up your camera and scan the 2D barcode on the screen, open up the link and then have a look and click on some of the tiles. The owner, give you a bit of background to this particular brand, the owner of Duo, who is a US manufacturer, US beauty manufacturer, contacted Buyerdock during the summer last year after their Italian distributor informed them of the new recycling regulations due to start this year and asked if we could add the recycling information onto the web app. If you've got it open on your screen, now click on the recycling tile. Working with DSS, the world's largest sustainability consultants, who also advise the EU Commission, we built into Buyerdock the platform, the ability for the brand owners to automatically generate the correct regulatory information in Italian. The recycling sorting information based on the material of the packaging, as described by Federico earlier in his presentation. The Italian government, when they passed this law, also allowed companies to deliver this information digitally. And without the brand needing to add any more information, we also extended that to the French recycling sorting information as well. You heard from Luke about the Tri-Man logo and the complexity now required in France. On Buyerdock, there is a simple drop-down menu that will advise you, depending on the size and type of packaging, if you need to physically print on pack the French Tri-Man logo as well. Buyerdock also provides downloadable print-ready format of the Tri-Man logo. If you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, the three symbols, they've been generated for the information submitted by the brand owner. Note the different requirements for the three different pack types as you go around the page. Do go on to buyerdock.com and test your packaging out. There's no cost or commitment. It'll also cover glass bottles as well, to answer the question asked by Mike on the chat earlier. Just to add to all the excitement that we have here on regulations, the EU are currently taking the French government to court over the requirement to print the Tri-Man logo, as it's adding friction within Europe. But for now it stays. But with the increase in regulation coming, we believe that the digitalisation of labelling for regulation and general consumer information is essential and will only grow. And I'll show you an example of where we believe it will end up at the end of this presentation. Also, from next year, to add to the pain, Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands and Poland will be following Italy and France with this regulation. And if you're on Buyerdock, you will not have to add anything extra, as we will just add the additional logos for each of your SKUs or products for each of the countries under the recycling tile. What you're seeing is the future of packaging and how regulations can be delivered in a more meaningful way. Oh, and by the way, there is one other regulation that I've not covered yet. If you click on the environmental tile at the bottom, you'll see what is required under Article 13 of the French Circularity Law. The information you enter onto Buyerdock platform can all be in English about your packaging, how easy it is to recycle, the percentage that can be recycled, including the possibility of reuse, and a couple of other questions. And Buyerdock displays the required legal sentence in French under this tile on each of your product apps. In case you were wondering how long this takes, we did a timed test and added a brand and the relevant packaging information to generate these logos in 1 minute 40 seconds. We also have the ability to download and upload large quantities of SKUs and products at the same time. Another one for you to scan here. Proverb's sustainability story is the future. Their packaging will disintegrate if you leave it in a box on your study floor for more than 6 months. I promise. I can vouch for that. How many product packs can claim that? It's not suitable for everyone or every store, but for those who are pushing the limits of what can be done with sustainable packaging, Buyerdock gives you that platform in more ways than one to shout about it. Pasnuts is another great one, another great product. They have a fantastic relationship with their growers, and they just don't have the room on their pack to tell their customers about it. Click on their brand and product information, but also they have what I think is one of the best how-to videos I've seen, which is all contained behind the 2D barcode. Whichever sector or industry you represent, if it's sold to consumers, Buyerdock can accelerate your engagement with your customers. Sister Coffee found that including frequently asked questions on their app reduced customer returns by a massive 80%. One last regulatory point: if you are a wine producer and you sell or intend to into the EU, from the end of November this year, you must display the nutritional, allergen and ingredients of your wine on each bottle. I must confess, when I open a bottle of wine, the nutritional contents are not the first thing I think about, but that's what the new regulations state. This can also be done digitally as well, so please scan the bottle to see some more information. Chicken crackling is always part of every presentation we do, as they were the first products to have 2D barcodes printed on pack. Simone Thomas Wellness wanted to remove their leaflet from inside their box of the 6 SKUs. It's a small company, small range of products, but they saved a huge amount of costs and packaging at the same time. A win for the planet and a win for the bottom line. Buyerdock is currently talking to another brand that has over 40,000 SKUs, and the digitalisation of their leaflets and information manuals will save a massive £1.5 million, not to mention the positive impact on the environment. Just going back to Simone's range for a moment, she also wanted to add a video to support her customers in their lifestyle and wellness choices, which was very simple to do behind the 2D barcode, but also could be updated as and when she wanted to do that. She also printed the 2D barcode not just on the box that was scanned through the point of sale, but also on the bottle inside, that goes so she can continue her engagement with her customers long after leaving the shop. When you scan Pause the Meno 2D barcode on the right, you'll notice that a disclaimer pops up at the top of the screen. Because the 2D barcode can be updated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, product recall alerts can be added if needed. It's used on this product to deliver a disclaimer, but on other brands have used this option for one-day promotions. Now, some brands want to see what their customers are looking at and in which part of the country or indeed world they are located. Buyerdock offers the brand owners a basic set of analytics for the brand owner, which tracks every scan of your 2D barcodes. I should add that, yes, we do capture the IP address of the phone being used, but it's only momentarily, and we don't keep it or anything about the user. It's all about what they've looked at and where they've been looking at it. Now, do scan this next product, which I think a brand name you'll all be familiar with. For the more complex products, such as electrical, it's also ideal. Please note, first of all, on the right-hand screenshot, the extensive list now showing of the Article 13 regulations under the environmental information tile. What was interesting when we mocked up this example was the discovery that Apple iPads are made out of 100% recycled material. That information is currently buried on the Apple website, and you need a lot of work to find it. Here at one click on the sustainability tile, it's all available. I should add at this point that the headings under the tiles you see on each SKU product app on the landing page have been researched by GS1 and their global team of 114 offices to find the most sought after facts about product that consumers want to hear. Buyerdock is also working with the University of Essex on the first of a number of consumer behaviour studies around how we interact with on-pack labelling, and that includes digitally as well. You can see here on this example what can be done to show your product off to its very best. And now just coming to the last couple of slides. So we come to the evolution of the barcode. This project we're working on for another brand. On the extreme left, you have today's conflict between the marketing department who wants to sell and the regulatory requirements imposed on the brand, and it's clear who's winning. If I was in front of you now, rather than on Zoom, I'd ask you all to put up your hands who could read what it says. So the conflict, believe it or not, is about to explode because, wait for it, the regulations needed to be delivered to the consumer before purchase are about to dramatically increase. You haven't seen anything yet. The word circularity, the circular economy, digital product passport are going to be part of our vocabulary in an ever increasing amount over the next years. And in one sense, quite rightly too, because we extract more than 200% of virgin materials out of the ground. So we need to do that. What you see today on this label on the far left are the regulations for the liquid inside the bottle. In fact, you couldn't sell this product on the left in France or Italy today because it has no Triman logo for France, no recycling information for Italy, and unless the web link, if you can spot it, goes directly to Article 13, information for the SKU and product, your CEO could face 2 years in a French jail and your company fined 10% of global turnover. So the information that you as a consumer need to protect yourself has ended up so small that none of us can read it, and if you can, you probably have no idea what it means. Regulation, not all, as we've seen, can already be delivered digitally. The image on the far right is where we believe it will go. Through the Buyerdock platform and this new 2D technology, not only can you comply to these new regulations in France and Italy today, not worry about Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands and Poland next year, but you can have a completely different relationship with your customers. For those of you who are already selling in Australia or interested in selling in Australia, we're currently working with Woolworths through GS1 who need brands with 2D barcodes on their packs to test their scanning machines. They currently scan 5 million 2D barcodes per week, but they have up until now only been own label products. With GS1 Australia, we've been able to introduce them to products on Buyerdock with this capacity. We also know that 2 of the largest supermarkets in the UK will start trials on 2D barcodes later this year. So how much does it all cost? And are there alternatives? As I mentioned earlier, to generate a 2D barcode on the Buyerdock platform, well, that's free. We're not going to charge you anything for that. If you want to access the web app and the regulations, we charge brands £1 per month per SKU or product. No sign-up charge, no subscription fee. And yes, there are alternative providers out there in different countries, such as Junker in Italy, and others, which we have listed on the Buyerdock regulations brochure, which will be sent out after this webinar. Buyerdock is a UK designed and built tech platform. I'm really pleased to say the company is registered here in the UK. It is not a subsidiary of any other company. So do please share with your friends and colleagues. And now to my last slide, which you'll all be very pleased about. Emma said to me when we started this, do make sure you have a strong call to action. So anyone signing up to Buyerdock or the Buyerdock team will build your first SKU free of charge for you. We'll give you also 3 months free, no limit to the number of SKUs. And for the first 40 sign-ups, you'll be invited to a free app workshop face-to-face in a private members club in central London. I hope that's enough. I'm going to drop into the chat the referral code DIT23. So do use that when you're signing up. And if you've already signed up, because I've seen quite a number of new sign-ups come through, do add it. There is a message box also on Buyerdock as well that will actually allow you to actually put that in there, and we'll also include you as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very much for listening. And any more questions?
Jonathan, that was great. And that was a cracking call to action as well, you know. So, fantastic. I bet everyone's actually now scrambling to get on the 40 members, you know. So fantastic. Really enjoyed that because it was interactive rather than just being talked at as well. So thank you. So many questions. So I'm trying to group some themes together. So if all the panelists that can, if you wouldn't mind putting your cameras on as well, we've only got a few minutes. You've mentioned the cost ones, so Neil asked a question about that. There's one about responsibility from Nigel that was, you know, who is responsible for this? So, you know, it's the manufacturer, isn't it? The person. Can you just pick up on that? I'm trying to find the question, sorry.
Yes, it ultimately comes back to the manufacturer, Emma.
Yeah. Okay, great. But then, so what about, one from Mike Wally. Hi, Mike. Nice to, thanks for joining today. I know Mike well, saw him on TV recently. So Mike imports dinosaur models from China. And sells them in France. So he's the importer, not the manufacturer. Where's the responsibility lie there?
I'll just come in, Emma, on that one.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
Hi, Mike. As the importer, as the responsible who's introducing that product into the French market, ultimately the responsibility will lie with you to make sure that your products are the waste packaging or the packaging that is on your product complies with the laws in France. I'm very happy if you want, Mike, we can have a discussion, both you and I, offline personally. So feel free to send me an email. What I'll do for everyone is because I think it's going to be easier because there was such a high level of questions throughout the call. I'll just put my email again in the chat because I know it popped up on screen, but I don't think that was long enough for everyone.
Thanks, Luke.
So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, big help. Thanks. So I found Nigel's question as well. that again builds on that. It's who's legally responsible for Triman implementation? Is it the UK manufacturer or the exporter or the French importer distributor?
Again, I'll come in on that. This is, I was having a chat with Jonathan from Buyerdock about this just before. These are definitions, these are interpretations of laws that are being written. So a key thing to point out is the interpretation that is being made and the definition that we have been given. The person or business that is introducing that product into the French market, onto the French market, from the understanding that I have, will be liable for the compliance. But of course, it's a supply chain. It's a contract that a manufacturer will have with a distributor. So double check what's written in your contracts if you currently work with the distributor. I've had one company come to me recently, and we had to double check that with them as well. But ultimately, in the eyes of France, the interpretation would be the person introducing the product into the French market.
Could I just add to that, Emma?
Yeah, please.
And say Luke and I discussed this earlier, as he quite rightly said, it's that word interpretation, and actually who is going to be the person who's implementing it. We had a company that was selling directly to an Italian retailer that came to us a couple of months ago because their products had been removed from the shelves in Italy. Now, that actually they didn't need to. It's just that the buyer, the retailer at the time, panicked when they saw this law and took them off the shelves. That wasn't the case at that time, and it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. And we come back to this interpretation and who is responsible at the end.
Jonathan, if I may chip in concerning Italy and the specific case, as it is in France, ultimately is the subject who is marketing the product in Italy that is considered responsible for this obligation. In this case, so the last one you mentioned is the retailer, I think, in Italy that can be considered responsible for the comply for this obligation. Concerning how to manage stocks, so any kind of packaging that has been manufactured or purchased before the Italian law came into effect at the beginning of this year, the Italian legislation allows companies to deplete stocks, but you can be asked by at custom level or by your importer, your distributor, to provide proofs the fact that this packaging has been manufactured or purchased before the end of last year. So an invoice or any kind of supporting document can be useful in this sense.
That's great, Federica. That also leads on to Hazel was asking about evidence. If you have to prove that it was produced before the deadline, so that would that be through an invoice of the manufacturer of the packaging then?
Yes, it could be one of this kind of document can be accepted by at customs level or by the distributor or importer if they ask it by local officials.
A lot of people are asking if like the Triman logo can be applied by stickers as well.
Yeah, I think I saw that question in the comments. I tried to answer that. I had one company recently who did use stickers to attach or affix the Triman logo and on-for tree sorting information. Just a clarification there, though, that I would like to make is just double check your packaging, whether you've got small packaging, cylindrical packaging, what your exemptions are. Can the information be dematerialized? Because I saw another question as well regarding information. There is so much information to include on packaging, even if you've got small packaging or not small packaging. It's very useful to have the capacity to be able to dematerialize this sort of information. So just double check instead of going straight to the sticker, whether you can dematerialize that information. I think that would be my advice there.
Thanks, Luke. And I've got two more questions I just want to ask the panel. One from Neil, that he sells products in France, Spain, Germany, Belgium. Can they use the imagery without the words in French? And he's referring to the Triman and the bin image.
Great question there. I think the best thing we should do, because I don't want to give advice that I'm not 100% confident with, and maybe Jonathan might know a little bit more. But if we do have any more kind of complex questions or complicated questions, the three kind of main eco-organisms that I mentioned at the beginning, we had Sitio, LECO and Aldelf. They are the three key organisations that are responsible for implementing and communicating the changes in regulations. Ultimately, an eco-organisation like Sitio will be able to respond concretely to that question. So I would direct you to Sitio, but again, if you wanted to reach out to us on a personal note, I'd be happy to take that conversation.
Yeah. Can I just, absolutely, Luke, and I'll tell you, any questions you've got, please feed them through and we'll come back to you on them. There's just one, I just noticed a couple of questions, and sorry to jump in on this, Emma, that there's a bit of confusion on Tri-Man and the QR bar, the new 2D barcode, or as we see it visually, a QR code. The Tri-Man logo, the French government requires to be printed on the label. So if we separate out, and apologies, because there's so much information to get over this morning, that it may well have seen that the two are merging. The 2D barcode is the delivery system for all the digital information that we hold behind it. There are certain regulations that can be delivered digitally, and hopefully we've gone through those. The Tri-Man logo is the odd one out here, because there are different categories of bottles and sizes that require the Tri-Man logo to be printed first, but there are also bottle sizes that don't need the Tri-Man logo, and that information can be stored digitally behind it. So that was what I was trying to get over with the drop-down menus, and I think it's like slide 3 or 4 of the presentation. So apologies if that was a confusion, but the two are separate. The 2D barcode can be used as a digital delivery system in France for your recycling information. I hope that's clearer.
Great. Okay, so we've got so many questions and we're on 11 o'clock. Last one is, obviously we've been talking about packaging that is recyclable. Chloe has said that her packaging isn't recyclable. Is this applicable?
Really great question, Chloe. I think again, this is a question we should probably take up with Sitio, and I'm happy to accompany you there, Chloe, in that conversation with Sitio. I'd like to understand kind of
More about that.
Yeah, more about that.
Yeah, on Buyerdock, just put whether it's recyclable or it's not recyclable, just put the packaging type in there, and it will deliver the correct outcome for you with those two markets that we've got on the platform.
Also, for the same question for Italy, you still have to indicate the material families composing the packaging, and so the alphanumeric code, and also information on how to correctly dispose of the waste. So this also applies to non-recyclable packaging.
Okay, we are running over. I'm do one more question on languages. So obviously, you know, everything that we've scanned today, Jonathan, it results in English. So as a consumer, if I'm in France and I scan and, you know, I've got my information with Buyerdock, is that presented in French or Italian, or can you?
So at the top of the, those who have been scanning the 2D barcodes, you'll notice at the top of the right-hand screen, there's a globe. If you click that, you can change the language on the screen, and also the content changes. You can do that in any other in other countries as well. We have found that through certain servers, depending on what your phone is set up to do, it will automatically translate it into the language of the country there. And what we'll be introducing later on through the geolocation of these 2D barcodes is automatic language recognition anyway. So you won't have to automatically click it through or rely on a particular server. So we hope there's enough there to deliver that as it is at the moment, but certainly it's in development.
Okay, thanks. Right, my apologies. I'm going to end there. I'm sorry if we've not answered your question live. We will follow up offline. We will get in contact with you. Stella, can you just put our contact details on there again, please? You will receive a recording of this webinar. You will get the slides as well with links that are clickable. You will also get extra supportive information on the regulation, and you will receive information from Buyerdock. Sorry, so just can we put our contact slides on? Our contact details, Stella, please.
Sending them in the chat.
Oh, okay. All right then. Anyway, yes, so it is oh, what is it? Okay. Well, actually, I wanted our contact details, the digital exporting one, please.
Yep, I've sent this
Stella.
one already.
If you put it on the screen, please.
Bear with me
So,
just a second.
listen,
I need to
everybody,
reload
thank
the
you so much.
presentation.
Okay, so yeah, so any general inquiries, please digital-exporting@trade.gov.uk, or contact Luke, or contact Carolina or Federico and Jonathan as well. So please, it's a huge conversation that we need more content and discussion around. I'm sure we're going to do that again soon. But thank you all for joining today. Special thanks to our panelists as well. Really appreciate your time and effort trying to communicate this very complicated subject in a very short time frame. So apologies for running over, but thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.